Everyone, this is Dr. David Song from the Rehab Hero Clinic. Today I'll be showing you guys how to do a mobility flow targeted for your lower body and your spine. So we'll get started. We're going to start with a dynamic warm-up first so that we could get some warmth and blood flow to our tissues before we do some of our static stretches afterwards. First, make sure you have a yoga mat on the floor. If you need to go grab one, press pause, then press play when you're ready. All right, let's get started. First thing we're going to do are what we call inchworms, but we're going to do a bit of a flow here. We'll move into some other movements along the way. So first, we're going to stand at the edge of one of the yoga mat. You just can bend down. You can curve your spine, that's fine. And you're just going to walk your hands down to the floor. From here, you're going to lower your body and we're going to do a cobra. And while you're doing this cobra, you want to make sure that you're trying to get an even distribution of that curve through your entire spine. From here, we're going to go into a downward dog. You could bend the knees if you have a lot of tension through the calf or hamstrings, or you could do a little bit of an extension to stretch that out. Come back down to a cobra one more time. Get that full extension. Be sure to tilt your head back. And make sure you're breathing throughout this whole entire process. Back onto the balls of your feet. You're going to just inchworm back up to a standing position. And we're going to do this a few times. So let's go for a second round here. The main goal with this is to take your time. It should be a low intensity movement. We're just trying to really get some blood flow and your body prepared for some of these more difficult movements. Back onto your balls or feet, palms pressing into the ground, raising your body up to the ceiling. And if you can straighten out your hips as you come down and back into the cobra. And then we're going to inchworm ourselves back up. At this point, you might have a light sweat going on, which is great. Stand right back up. One more time. Back down, inchworm across that yoga mat of yours. Lower yourself down to the ground. Cobra up. And then back into a downward dog onto the balls of your feet. And then stretching out those lower leg muscles. All right, back into a cobra one more time. And we'll inchworm back up to a standing position. From here, we're going to go towards the center of the mat so we have a little bit of space for ourselves. And we're going to work on some nerve mobility for your sciatic nerve, hamstring, and calf mobility. Everything in your posterior chain. First, you're going to just squat down, keep finger contact with your feet. I'm going to pinch my toes here just so I know I'm making contact. And from here, I'm just going to extend my knees until I feel a light stretch. Once I feel that stretch, just a 1-2 second count, back down. And we're going to do about 10 reps of these in general. But you can do more if you're responding well to it. Every time, you should notice that you can get a little bit straighter and straighter with those legs while experiencing still just a low intensity stretch. Here we are, we're going for repetition number 4. Or at least I think. I'm terrible at counting. Here we go. When you're doing this, make sure while you're at this rested position, you're taking a nice inhale and then you're exhaling as you go up. Inhaling as you come in. And then exhaling. There we go. So I'm nearly getting pretty straight here. We're going to just go for another 3 reps here. Really feel that stretch along the back of the calf and thigh. 2 more reps. Now, if you don't get to full leg extension, that's okay. For some of you, it might be really difficult based on your base mobility. But if you do this daily, you should find that your hips and knees and legs open up. All right, next, now that we have that posterior chain mobility, we'll be going into a squat and reach. So from a standing position, keep your feet wide and the shoulder distance apart. You want to squat down. You can use the floor to support your hands. And then you're going to reach up to the sky, come back down, and reach for the other side, okay? So one thing that you can do to kind of help you with your rotation is you can pin your elbow against the inner aspect of your thigh, and I'm pushing my elbow into this thigh to rotate my body a little bit further. You'll feel this in your obliques. You'll feel this in your low back muscles as well. And we're going to just do about 3 reps in total before we do another reset. So you might feel a slight burn into your quads as they're supporting you in this position. You might feel it in your glutes a little bit too, because they're trying to hold you in this deep squat. Again, if you can't go as deep as me, that's okay. If you're a little bit further along, that's okay. We're going to come back up, hands still on the ground, then we stand up, reach up with our hands, go into a full lumbar and thoracic extension, coming back down, touch the floor, squatting down thereafter. We'll do another 3 reps here. Reaching up, back down, reaching up. So it's really important to remember to breathe while you're doing this. A lot of people tend to hold their breath up here as they're trying to strain into these deep end ranges. The key thing is that during these exercises, the stretches shouldn't be super intense. Just a low to medium intensity is more than enough to get the mobility gains that you're looking for. And then we're going to extend our hips and knees, hands up in the air. Once again, extending back all the way, reaching up towards the ceiling with your hands. And we're going to move on to our static stretches. So next we're going to go into a pigeon stretch. So for this exercise, the goal is to rotate your thighs as much as possible, but depending on how much external rotation you have in the hips, it might be a little too difficult. So I'm going to be targeting the the glutes of my front hip here, and I'm going to be externally rotating my thigh so that my foot is kind of towards this top right corner of the mat. And from here, I'm going to just lean back, and then I'm going to feel a stretch into my hips. Now, for those who have lots of mobility, you can hinge forwards at the hips until your elbows touch the ground, and you could kind of just lean into it using your upper body's body weight, and this will deepen the stretch. But if you can't do that, propping your body up onto your hands is great. For some of you, getting your foot up towards that top corner of the mat might be a little difficult. If you have a bit of an angle, that's okay, as long as you feel that stretch. This will open up as you get better. And we hold the stretch for about 30 seconds. Okay, and then after that, we're just going to switch sides. So I'm gonna bring up my right foot, forwards. I'm gonna sit back into it with my bum. And then once again, I'm gonna just lean into it for the stretch. The purpose of this mobility flow isn't really to make sure you're doing the most perfect form. It's about approaching what your body's limitations are and then just kind of challenging them a little bit. So don't get too caught up about making sure your spine is super straight or anything like that. As long as we're feeling it in the targeted areas, so namely this glute or this buttock region, then that's going to be good enough. And once again, we're only aiming for a low to medium intensity stretch. Let me hold it for about 30 seconds or so. If you want, and if you find that the deeper ranges are a little hard, you could pop yourself up momentarily to just make it a little lighter, and then like deepen it back up as your body allows you to through its ability to relax in these stretched positions. Okay, next we're going to target our hip flexors. So I'm going to target my right hip flexor first, which means that right leg is going to be behind me. I'm going to go into this half kneel position right here, and I'm going to just lunge forwards a little bit to feel a stretch into my hip flexors. Now, the important part about this is making sure your hips are tilted backwards. So if you're finding yourself arching your low back a lot, you're going to miss out on the stretch. Not bad movement, it just will minimize how intense it feels in your hip flexors. So you just want to rotate those hips backwards just like that. And then if you want to deepen the stretch a little bit further, you're just going to take the same side's arm, reach up into the sky, and lean away from that leg just slightly. You'll feel a really good stretch into your hip flexor here. You might feel it into your quad, you might feel it into your abs and obliques. It really just depends on your current limitations. We're just gonna hold this for about 30 seconds or so. Make sure you're taking a nice deep breath. What I like to do is really focus on expanding my rib cage here as I inhale, and now deepen that stretch from the inside out And then I'm going to ease off nice and easy. Try not to move too quickly while doing static stretches. And we're going to switch sides. So from here, I'm going to lunge my other leg forwards. Once again, tilting my pelvis backwards to already engage in that stretch. Forward movement slightly, hand up into the air, leaning away from that leg, just very slightly. The main goal when it comes to doing static stretches should be just being able to relax during the stretch. If your body can't relax and you're just pushing through a stretch, you're kind of defeating the purpose of a stretch, which is to get the muscle to chill out. So if you're making it into a high intensity exercise, you're just not going to get the result that you're looking for. Nice and chill. You can put on nice and relaxing music if you want to get into the zone. All right, next we're going to target our hamstrings. So while maintaining this half kneel position, I'm just going to now bring my hips back, going onto my heel. I'm going to feel a stretch right into the back of my leg. From here, I can kind of lean forwards if I need to, and we're going to feel a bit of a stretch here now. If you're a beginner at stretching, then having your toes pointed away will make the stretch a little bit more bearable. If you're pretty advanced, you could pull it up towards the ceiling, or if you're really advanced, you could even kind of pull it a little bit deeper. Now this will just stretch out the whole entire posterior chain. You'll feel in the calf. One of the other limitations is sciatic nerve mobility. So if you had a previous nerve injury in the sciatic nerve, this could be very beneficial as long as you're not making a super high intensity exercise. We're just going to switch sides back to this half kneel position, switch knee positions, and we're just going to slide back with our hips till we feel this nice little stretch. And of course, it's always okay to kind of start with a lighter stretch. So if I spend about 10 seconds here until I can tolerate the stretch more and then just deepen it as I go, that's perfectly fine. And I could hold on to that as well. While you're doing these stretches, it's really important that you focus on relaxation. Can't stress that enough. Breathing, relaxation, two key ingredients into getting a mobile body. Okay, from here, going back up to this half kneel position, we're going to do what's called the world's greatest stretch. So from here, I'm going to lunge in, support my hand, my opposite hand on the ground, and I'm going to do another rotation through the spine here. Where I just hold that end range. I'm trying to get my fingertips to kind of point towards the ceiling as if I'm trying to jab the ceiling with my fingertips. And then we're gonna come back off. We're gonna go for another rep, rotate once again. So here we're kind of doing a lumbar and thoracic rotational stretch. You might even feel the front legs glute and hamstring stretch out. You might feel your hip flexor stretch out on the back leg. Because it targets so many different areas, that's why it's called the world's greatest stretch. So we're, once again, switch sides, going to do the opposite side. Right leg forward, left hand forwards, rotate, hand towards the ceiling. Gain a nice stretch through those hip flexors, hip extensors, through the obliques, feeling the muscles of the low back and thoracic spine engage as they contract to rotate your spine, torso. Hold that nice and strong. We're going to hold this for about 10 to 15 seconds. Make sure you're breathing. And as I'm trying to do this, I'm actually trying to increase the rotation as much as I can at a low to medium intensity. All right, we're going to stretch out our adductors at this point. So we're going to do a nice and easy pancake stretch. So you're going to get your legs, spread them out as far as possible, and you're just going to reach forwards with your hands. Now, a lot of people like to bob with this exercise. Again, I'm not a huge fan with the bobbing type of movement because it prevents you from really being able to relax. Instead, just ease off on that stretch. I like to back off a little bit and just be able to breathe through it to the point where it stops feeling like a stretch. So usually after about 20-30 seconds, that light stretch will stop feeling like a stretch, and then you can deepen it a little bit more if you need to. So for me, this is still feeling pretty good. And after 20 seconds or so, I can go a little bit deeper by just crawling my hands up forwards. And for this exercise, once again, it's okay to bend the low back so long as it doesn't feel uncomfortable on the low back. All right, I'm going back off. Last exercise we're going to do is kind of a reclined kneel. So from here, we're gonna go onto our hands, knees, and we're going to lean backwards as far as we can. So this can be a pretty difficult stretch for a lot of people. So if you're a beginner, you can kind of just lean back and support your upper body with your knuckles. If you're more of an intermediate, you can come down onto your elbows and support yourself there. And then if you're advanced, you can just kind of lie down all the way back. Feel your hip flexor stretch out, your abdominal muscles, your quads for sure, and you're just laying there relaxing. Want to make sure though you're not putting yourself into a super deep stretch. If you can't relax into it, you kind of defeat the purpose of that stretch. Also pay attention to whether or not you're losing circulation, because if you're really tight, putting yourself in these really deep end range stretches can be really difficult. And we're going to just hold this for 3 seconds total, making sure we breathe. Once again, think about expanding the rib cage outwards when you're taking that deep breath in, and then breathe out. Okay, and from there, we're done. That completes our mobility flow. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. If you're looking for any type of services, including chiropractic, physiotherapy, or massage, we've got 2 clinics in the GTA as of this moment. You could click on the link below to book in your next appointment. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.